She fed 3 homeless triplets every single day. Years later, they came back for her as billionaires. Emma was never the kind of woman people noticed at first glance. On that noisy street where dust danced with exhaust fumes, she was just another shadow among many others. She had no jewelry, no wealth, and no famous name. Her entire life fit into a small room where the roof leaked whenever the sky grew angry and where the floor remained painfully cold. Yet every morning, before the first rooster's crow broke the silence, she would rise with quiet dignity. Her routine was sacred: a splash of cold water on her face, a carefully tied wrap, and a fire lit to prepare rice and stew. Her shop was nothing more than a wooden table placed by the roadside, exposed to the burning sun and unpredictable winds. She had no walls to protect her, only the hope that passers-by would stop. And they did. Not because her food was the most sophisticated, but because she put a part of herself into it. Emma smiled at everyone, even those who ignored her. She said good morning like a repeated prayer, searching for a human connection in the rushing crowd. To her, every customer was a blessing, because every coin she earned helped pay the rent and fill the pot for the next day. It was a fragile life, lived on the edge, but she carried it with a gentleness that commanded respect. One afternoon, as the crushing heat made the horizon tremble, the attention of Emma's customers shifted across the street. Near an unfinished building, where bare concrete served as a makeshift shelter, she saw them. 3 young boys, triplets, around 10 years old. They were sitting there, completely still, like small statues made of dust. Their clothes were torn, their bare feet covered in dirt. But what struck Emma the most was how identical they were. They had the same deep eyes, the same thin nose, the same expression of quiet, resigned patience. They weren't begging, they weren't crying, they were simply watching. Their eyes followed every spoon Emma served, every plate of steaming rice that passed from her hands to a customer. It was a look that asked for nothing, yet revealed everything. The hunger that twisted their stomachs, the cold nights without blankets, and the loneliness of children no one sees. Emma felt a lump rise in her throat. She saw herself as a child again, standing there with an empty stomach, watching others eat. She tried to focus on her work, telling herself she couldn't save everyone, that her pot was already too small for her own survival. But her heart refused to listen. Those 3 small faces were calling her in silence, and deep down she knew she would never be able to ignore them again. The conflict inside her was intense. Roxanne, her neighbor, never missed a chance to criticize. To her, kindness was a weakness, a luxury the poor could not afford. If you feed them once, they'll never leave you alone, she would say with contempt. But Emma couldn't ignore Tim, Tom, and Theo. She finally gave in to her instinct. She took a plate, filled it generously with rice and sauce, and called the boys. At first, they didn't move, suspicious, used to being chased away rather than invited. When they finally approached, Emma saw the full extent of their misery up close. But what happened next left her speechless. Instead of rushing toward the food, Theo, the oldest, took the plate and gently placed it on the ground between his brothers. With their small, dirty fingers, they divided the rice into 3 perfectly equal portions. Not a single grain more for one, not a single complaint from another. It was a silent pact, a lesson in loyalty from children who had nothing. Emma turned away to hide her tears. In that moment, she understood that these boys were not ordinary street children. There was a dignity in them that poverty had not managed to break. By accepting that plate, they were not just taking food, they were accepting recognition, the simple acknowledgement of their humanity. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The triplets became a part of Emma's daily life, a quiet presence that filled the emptiness she had carried for so long. But what she didn't know was that this small act of kindness would one day come back to her in a way she could have never imagined.